Once upon a time, in a cozy little town nestled beside a sparkling blue river, lived a young woman named Ella. Ella wasn't just any young woman. She had a heart of gold and a smile that could brighten even the cloudiest day. But Ella's life wasn't always easy. Sadly, she was an orphan, and to make matters worse, she was expecting a baby all on her own. After her parents passed away, Ella was forced to live with her stepmother, Agatha, and her two mean stepsisters, Brunhilde and Gertrude. Agatha was a very unkind woman with a pointy nose and a frown that seemed permanently etched on her face. Brunhilde and Gertrude were just like their mother, always sneering and making Ella feel small. Agatha made Ella do all the chores around the house. From sunrise to sunset, Ella scrubbed floors, washed dishes, and cooked meals for her stepfamily. They treated her like a servant, constantly complaining about her cooking and the way she cleaned. "Ella, you clumsy girl. The floor is still dusty," Agatha would shriek, even if the floor was sparkling clean. Despite the unfair treatment, Ella never complained. She knew that complaining wouldn't change anything. Instead, she focused on the little baby growing inside her, dreaming of a better future. She would often sit by the window, gently rubbing her belly, and whisper promises to her unborn child. "I will always protect you, my little one," she'd say, her eyes filled with love and determination. She knew raising a baby alone would be hard, but she was ready to face any challenge with courage and love. She hoped that one day, things would get better, and she and her baby could finally find happiness. Agatha's cruelty knew no bounds. Every day, she found new ways to make Ella's life miserable. If Ella accidentally burned the toast, Agatha would make her eat only burnt toast for dinner. If Ella didn't dust the shelves perfectly, Agatha would make her dust them again and again until her arms ached. Brunhilde and Gertrude were no better. They would often hide Ella's shoes or tear her clothes, giggling as Ella frantically searched for them. They would also make fun of her growing belly, calling her names and saying that no one would ever want her. "Look at you, Ella. You're going to be a mother all alone," Brunhilde would sneer. "Who would ever marry you now?" Gertrude would chime in, their laughter echoing through the house. Ella tried her best to ignore their taunts, but sometimes it was hard. She missed her parents terribly and longed for someone to show her kindness and love. She often wondered why Agatha and her daughters were so mean to her. Was it because she was an orphan? Or because she was carrying a baby? One day, Agatha called Ella into the living room. "Ella," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness, "I've been thinking about your future." Ella's heart sank. She knew that whenever Agatha started a sentence like that, it meant trouble. "I've decided that it's time for you to get married," Agatha continued, a cruel smile spreading across her face. "I've found someone who's willing to take you off my hands." Ella's eyes widened in shock. She was pregnant and barely an adult herself. Who would want to marry her? And why was Agatha so eager to get rid of her? Little did Ella know, Agatha had a terrible plan brewing, one that would change Ella's life forever. Meanwhile, not too far away, lived a man named Alex. Alex wasn't just any man, he was a very wealthy millionaire. But Alex wasn't interested in fancy cars or big houses. He longed for something real, genuine love and friendship. He was tired of people only wanting him for his money. So he decided to do something unusual. He disguised himself as a homeless man. He traded his expensive suits for worn-out clothes, his shiny sports car for a tattered blanket, and his luxurious mansion for a bench in the park. He grew out his beard and messed up his hair, making himself almost unrecognizable. He wanted to see if anyone would be kind to him without knowing about his wealth. He spent his days wandering the streets, observing people. Some people ignored him, some sneered at him, and some even kicked him. But every now and then, someone would offer him a kind word or a piece of food. Those small acts of kindness warmed his heart and gave him hope that genuine goodness still existed in the world. One chilly afternoon, Alex was sitting on his usual park bench, shivering in the cold. He was feeling particularly lonely and discouraged. Just then, a young woman approached him. She had kind eyes and a gentle smile. It was Ella. She offered him a warm cup of soup and a small loaf of bread. "It's not much," she said softly, "but I hope it helps." Alex was touched by her generosity. He noticed she was pregnant and looked tired and sad. "Thank you," he said, his voice raspy from disuse. "You're very kind." As Ella walked away, Alex couldn't help but wonder about her story. He felt drawn to her kindness and her quiet strength. He knew he wanted to know more about this young woman who had shown him such compassion. Little did he know, their paths were about to cross again in a most unexpected way. Agatha, meanwhile, was busy plotting. She had seen Alex, the homeless man, in the park and thought he was the perfect solution to her Ella problem. "He's poor, he's dirty, and no one will ever suspect he's worth anything," she cackled to herself. "Perfect. I'll finally be rid of that burden." She saw Ella's pregnancy as a stain on her family's reputation, and she couldn't wait to get rid of her. Marrying her off to a homeless man seemed like the easiest and cheapest way to do it. She wouldn't have to pay for a fancy wedding, and she could finally be free of Ella's presence in her house. So, Agatha approached Alex one afternoon, putting on her most charming smile, which looked more like a grimace. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice sickly sweet. "I couldn't help but notice you seemed to be down on your luck." Alex, pretending to be surprised, looked at her with suspicion. "I have a proposition for you," Agatha continued, leaning closer. "I have a stepdaughter who needs a husband. Well, she's not the prettiest or the smartest, but she can cook and clean. And," she added with a wink, "she's expecting a baby." Alex pretended to consider the offer. He was disgusted by Agatha's attitude and her treatment of Ella, but he knew this was his chance to get closer to her and perhaps help her escape her miserable situation. "And what's in it for me?" he asked, feigning interest. "A roof over your head and 3 meals a day," Agatha replied, her eyes gleaming with greed. "Isn't that enough for a man like you?" Alex nodded slowly. "I suppose it is," he said, hiding a smile. He knew that Agatha had no idea who he really was, and he was about to turn her wicked plan on its head. This was all part of his plan to find someone who loved him for himself, and maybe, just maybe, he had found that person in Ella. Agatha wasted no time in telling Ella about her plan. "Ella," she announced, barging into Ella's small room, "you're getting married." Ella, who was mending a torn dress, looked up in surprise. "Married? To whom?" she asked, her voice trembling. "To a very suitable man," Agatha replied, avoiding Ella's gaze. "He's a bit unconventional, but he's willing to take you in, and that's all that matters." Ella's heart sank. She knew this couldn't be good. "Who is he, Agatha?" she pleaded. "Please, tell me." Agatha sighed dramatically. "Oh, all right. It's that homeless man from the park. Alex, I think his name is." Ella's eyes widened in disbelief. Marry a homeless man? Seemed like a cruel joke. But she knew Agatha was serious. "But, Agatha, I barely know him," Ella protested. "And I'm pregnant. How can I marry someone I don't love?" Agatha rolled her eyes. "Love is for fools, Ella. This is about practicality. He'll give you a roof over your head, and that's more than you deserve. Besides," she added with a sneer, "it's not like you have any other options." Ella felt tears welling up in her eyes. She knew Agatha was right. She had no family, no money, and nowhere else to go. Marrying Alex seemed like her only choice. But the thought of marrying a stranger, even a kind one, filled her with dread. That night, Ella sat by the window, staring out at the stars. She felt lost and alone. She whispered a prayer to her parents, asking for guidance. She knew she had to do what was best for her baby, even if it meant sacrificing her own happiness. She decided that she would marry Alex, not for love, but for survival. She hoped that somehow, someday, things would get better. And little did she know, her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. The wedding was a somber affair. No fancy dresses, no beautiful flowers, no joyful music. Just Ella, standing in a simple, worn dress, with tears in her eyes. Alex stood beside her, his heart aching for her. He could see the sadness in her eyes, but he also saw a spark of resilience, a quiet strength that drew him to her even more. Agatha and her daughters watched with smug satisfaction, eager to be rid of Ella. The ceremony was short and simple. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Ella felt a shiver run down her spine. Her life had changed forever. After the ceremony, Agatha practically shoved Ella and Alex out the door. "Good riddance," she muttered under her breath. Alex, holding Ella's hand, led her away from the house. He had arranged for a small, modest cottage on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, but it was clean and cozy, and it was a far cry from the life Ella had been living. As they entered the cottage, Ella looked around with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. "Thank you, Alex," she said softly, "for giving me a place to stay." Alex smiled gently. "You're welcome, Ella," he replied. "This is our home now." Over the next few days, Ella and Alex started to settle into their new life. Ella cooked and cleaned, and Alex helped with the heavier chores. He treated her with kindness and respect, something she had never experienced before. He never raised his voice, never demanded anything from her, and always made sure she was comfortable. Ella was surprised by Alex's gentle nature. He was nothing like she had expected. She started to see past his rough appearance and recognize the kind heart that lay beneath. She also noticed how he would often look at her with a mixture of concern and admiration. She didn't understand it, but it made her feel safe. Alex, meanwhile, was falling more and more in love with Ella's quiet strength and her unwavering kindness. He knew he had made the right decision. He just hoped that one day, she would be able to see him, not as a homeless man, but as the man who loved her with all his heart. As the weeks passed, Ella noticed small things that didn't quite add up about Alex. He always seemed to have enough money to buy food, even though he never seemed to have a job. One day, Ella needed medicine for a bad cough. She was worried about how they would afford it, but Alex simply smiled and pulled out a wad of bills from his pocket. "Don't worry, Ella," he said. "We'll take care of it." Another time, the roof of their cottage started leaking during a heavy rainstorm. Ella was frantic, but Alex calmly called someone, and within hours, a team of workers arrived to fix the roof, doing a professional job quickly. Ella asked who he called, but Alex just shrugged and said, "An old friend." He also had a surprising knowledge of things. He could identify rare birds, knew about different kinds of flowers, and even spoke a little French. Ella often wondered how a homeless man could know so much. One afternoon, Ella was sitting outside, sewing a small blanket for her baby. Alex came and sat beside her. "Ella," he said softly, "I want you to have something." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a beautiful, antique ring. It sparkled in the sunlight.
Ella gasped.
"Alex, it's beautiful. But where did you get it?" Alex hesitated for a moment. "It was my grandmother's," he said finally. "I wanted you to have it. It's a symbol of my affection for you." Ella was touched by his gesture. She took the ring and slipped it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "Thank you, Alex," she said, her eyes filled with tears. "It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." She hugged him tightly, feeling a warmth spread through her heart. She was starting to care for Alex, not just out of gratitude, but out of genuine affection. She just couldn't explain where the money and knowledge came from, and it made her curious about his past. She began to wonder if there was more to Alex than met the eye. The simple life they shared was comfortable, but it was becoming increasingly clear that Alex held a secret. Back at Agatha's house, things were not going as planned. Agatha had expected Ella to be miserable and destitute, but every time she saw Ella in town, she seemed happier. And Alex, despite his ragged appearance, always seemed to have enough money to buy groceries and other necessities. One day, Agatha saw Ella wearing a beautiful ring. It sparkled in the sunlight, and Agatha immediately recognized it as an expensive antique. "Where did you get that ring?" she demanded, her voice sharp with suspicion. Ella hesitated, but then proudly said, "Alex gave it to me. It was his grandmother's." Agatha's eyes narrowed. A homeless man with a valuable heirloom? It didn't make sense. She started to wonder if Alex was hiding something. She decided to investigate. She started following Ella and Alex whenever she could, trying to uncover their secrets. She saw Alex helping an elderly woman carry her groceries. She saw him giving money to a street musician. She even saw him speaking fluent French to a visiting tourist. The more Agatha observed, the more confused she became. One afternoon, she followed Alex to a fancy restaurant in town. She watched as he sat down at a table with a well-dressed man and started talking business. Agatha strained to hear their conversation, but she couldn't make out the words. However, she did notice that Alex seemed to be in charge. Agatha's mind raced. Could it be possible that Alex wasn't who he seemed? Could he be wealthy? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. If Alex was rich, then she had made a terrible mistake. She had practically given away her stepdaughter to a millionaire. She rushed home, her mind buzzing with possibilities. If Alex was wealthy, then maybe, just maybe, she could get back into Ella's good graces. She could pretend that she had always cared about her, and maybe, just maybe, Ella would share some of her newfound wealth with her. Agatha started plotting a new plan, one that would involve charm, flattery, and a whole lot of fake tears. She was determined to get back into Ella's life, no matter what it took. The greed in her heart grew stronger with each passing moment. One day, a fancy invitation arrived at the cottage. It was addressed to Mr. Alexander Sterling. Ella looked at Alex with confusion. Sterling? Is that your last name? Alex hesitated, then nodded. Yes, it is, he said softly. I haven't used it in a while. The invitation was for a charity gala, a prestigious event held annually to raise money for local orphanages. Alex had been a longtime supporter of the charity, even during his time disguised as a homeless man. He saw this as an opportunity to reveal his true identity to Ella and to introduce her to his world. Ella, he said, I'd like you to come with me. Ella's eyes widened. To a gala? But I don't have anything to wear. Alex smiled. Don't worry, he said. I'll take care of everything. The next day, a team of stylists arrived at the cottage. They brought with them a stunning array of dresses, shoes, and jewelry. Ella was overwhelmed. She had never seen anything so beautiful. The stylists fussed over her, doing her hair and makeup, transforming her into a radiant beauty. When she finally looked in the mirror, she hardly recognized herself. She was wearing a breathtaking gown that shimmered like moonlight, and her hair was styled in elegant curls. The antique ring that Alex had given her sparkled on her finger. You look beautiful, Ella, Alex said, his eyes filled with admiration. Ella blushed, feeling a flutter in her heart. She had never felt so confident or so beautiful. As they left the cottage, Ella couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation. She had no idea what the gala would be like, but she knew that she was ready to face it, with Alex by her side. She was ready to see what the night held, and maybe, just maybe, she was ready to learn the truth about Alex. This was going to be a night that would change everything. As Ella and Alex arrived at the gala, all eyes turned to them. Alex, no longer disguised as a homeless man, was dressed in a sharp, elegant tuxedo. His hair was neatly trimmed, and his beard was gone, revealing a handsome face. He looked every inch the millionaire he was. Ella, radiant in her gown, clung to his arm, feeling a little nervous but also incredibly proud. They walked into the ballroom, which was filled with elegantly dressed people, sparkling chandeliers, and the sounds of a live orchestra. Agatha and her daughters were also at the gala, hoping to catch a glimpse of Alex and confirm their suspicions. When they saw Ella and Alex enter, their jaws dropped. They couldn't believe their eyes. Was that really Ella? And was that really the homeless man they had dismissed as worthless? As Alex and Ella made their way through the crowd, people greeted Alex with warmth and respect. Mr. Sterling, it's so good to see you, they exclaimed. Thank you for your generous support of the orphanage. Alex smiled and introduced Ella as his wife. Suddenly, the master of ceremonies stepped onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, I would like to introduce a very special guest, a man who has been a long-time supporter of our charity and a true friend to the orphans in our community. Mr. Alexander Sterling. The spotlight shone on Alex as he walked onto the stage. He took the microphone and began to speak. "Thank you," he said, his voice clear and strong. "It's an honor to be here tonight. I believe that every child deserves a chance in life, and I am committed to helping those who need it most." He then turned to Ella, who was standing near the stage, watching him with admiration. "And I would also like to introduce my beautiful wife, Ella, who has shown me the true meaning of kindness and compassion." The crowd applauded, and Ella blushed, feeling overwhelmed with happiness. Agatha and her daughters, however, were seething with anger and envy. They had been completely wrong about Alex, and now they were paying the price. Their plan to exploit Ella had backfired spectacularly. After Alex's speech, Agatha and her daughters stormed over to Ella, their faces a mixture of anger and false sweetness.
Ella, darling.
Agatha gushed, grabbing Ella's hand. "I always knew you were destined for great things, and to think you married such a wonderful man." Ella looked at Agatha with disdain. She saw through her fake kindness and remembered all the years of mistreatment and cruelty. "Don't pretend you care, Agatha," she said coldly. "I know you only want me for my husband's money." Agatha's face fell, but she quickly recovered. "Oh, Ella, you wound me. I only ever wanted what was best for you. And now that you're married to such a wealthy man, I'm so happy for you." Brunhilde and Gertrude chimed in, showering Ella with insincere compliments. Ella had had enough. "Leave me alone, Agatha," she said firmly. "I don't want anything to do with you or your daughters." She turned to Alex, who had been watching the scene with a mixture of amusement and disgust. "Let's go, Alex," she said. "I need some fresh air." As they walked away, Agatha and her daughters glared at them with resentment. They had lost their chance to exploit Ella, and they knew it. Their greed had blinded them, and now they were left with nothing but their own bitterness. Outside, Ella took a deep breath, feeling relieved to be away from Agatha and her daughters. "I can't believe they had the nerve to come up to me after everything they did," she said to Alex. Alex squeezed her hand reassuringly. "Don't let them bother you, Ella," he said. "They're not worth your time."
Ella smiled gratefully.
"Thank you, Alex," she said. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." As they strolled through the gardens, hand in hand, Ella felt a sense of peace and contentment wash over her. She finally had everything she had ever wanted. A loving husband, a beautiful home, and a bright future. And she knew that she would never let Agatha and her daughters ruin her happiness again. Her life had truly transformed, and she was determined to make the most of it. Time passed, and Ella gave birth to a healthy baby girl, whom they named Lily. Alex was a doting father, and Ella was filled with joy. They lived a comfortable life in a beautiful home, surrounded by love and happiness. Agatha, however, continued to try to worm her way back into Ella's life. She would send letters filled with fake apologies and promises of change. She would show up at Ella's doorstep, begging for forgiveness. But Ella remained firm. She knew that Agatha's apologies were not genuine, and she refused to let her back into her life. One day, Agatha came to Ella's house, looking particularly distraught. "Ella, please," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry for everything I did. I was wrong and I know it. Please just give me another chance." Ella looked at Agatha with a mixture of pity and resolve. She could see the desperation in her eyes, but she also knew that Agatha was still the same selfish woman she had always been. "Agatha," Ella said softly, "I forgive you.
I truly do.
But I can't let you back into my life. You hurt me too deeply, and I need to protect my family." Agatha's face crumpled. But what am I going to do?" she cried. "I have nothing."
Ella sighed.
"I'm sorry, Agatha," she said, "but that's not my responsibility. You made your choices, and now you have to live with them." Ella gently closed the door, leaving Agatha standing alone on the porch. She felt a pang of guilt, but she knew she had made the right decision. She couldn't let Agatha's negativity and selfishness poison her life again. From that day on, Ella never saw or heard from Agatha again. She focused on her family and her happiness, knowing that she had made the right choice. She knew that forgiving Agatha from afar was the best way to protect her heart and her soul. She was finally free from the burden of her past, and she was determined to create a bright future for herself and her family. The page had turned, and a new, beautiful chapter was beginning. Ella and Alex decided to use their wealth to help others who were less fortunate. They established a foundation to support orphanages and provide resources for pregnant women in need. They wanted to give other children the chance they never had, and they wanted to ensure that no woman had to face pregnancy alone and scared. They visited orphanages regularly, playing with the children and bringing them gifts. They listened to their stories and offered them encouragement. They became role models for the kids, showing them that anything was possible with hard work and determination. Ella also started a program to teach young mothers valuable skills, such as cooking, sewing, and budgeting. She wanted to empower them to become self-sufficient and provide a better life for their children. She shared her own story with them, inspiring them to never give up hope, even in the face of adversity. Alex, on the other hand, used his business acumen to create jobs in the community. He invested in local businesses and provided training opportunities for those who needed them. He believed that everyone deserved a chance to earn a living and contribute to society. Together, Ella and Alex made a real difference in the lives of countless people. They showed the world that kindness, compassion, and generosity could change lives for the better. They taught their daughter, Lily, the importance of giving back and helping others, instilling in her the same values that had guided their own lives. They never forgot where they came from, and they always remained humble and grateful for the blessings they had received. They knew that their happiness was not just about wealth and comfort, but about making a positive impact on the world. Their love for each other grew stronger with each passing day, and they cherished every moment they spent together. Their life was a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and second chances. And it all started with a simple act of kindness and a leap of faith. And so, Ella and Alex lived happily ever after. They watched their daughter, Lily, grow into a kind and compassionate young woman. They continued to support orphanages and help those in need, making the world a better place, one small act of kindness at a time. They traveled the world, exploring new cultures and meeting new people, always remembering to share their blessings with others. They built schools in underprivileged communities, provided scholarships for deserving students, and supported medical research to find cures for diseases. Alex never regretted his decision to disguise himself as a homeless man. It had led him to Ella, the love of his life, and had taught him the true meaning of happiness. He learned that wealth was not about fancy cars or big houses, but about making a difference in the lives of others. Ella never forgot the hardships she had faced as an orphan. She used her experiences to inspire others to overcome adversity and never give up on their dreams. She showed the world that even the most difficult circumstances can be overcome with courage, kindness, and determination. Their love story became a legend, a testament to the power of true love and the importance of giving back. People from all walks of life were inspired by their generosity and their commitment to making the world a better place. And as they grew old together, surrounded by their family and friends, Ella and Alex knew that they had lived a life filled with purpose, love, and happiness. They had proven that even the most unlikely of circumstances could lead to a fairy tale ending. They had shown the world that true wealth lies not in what you have, but in what you give. And so, the tale of the pregnant orphan and the millionaire in disguise became a beloved story, told and retold for generations to come, reminding everyone that kindness, compassion, and love are the most valuable treasures of all. The end.